Welcome to Sports Wars, NFL Division Round Playoff Picks and Predictions. Sponsored by sportspicks.locals.com, where you would have already doubled your money if you had been a pick subscriber this year, and you can still get free picks, football picks and predictions for the rest of the playoffs. First up, Cincinnati in the border war travels to Nashville, Tennessee to face the Titans, who come in with the number one seed and a week off, and the return of the legend, Derrick Henry, to the offensive backfield that should re-inspire that offense to perform well again. And that's what Vegas and most sports books predict. They suggest the Titans will win by about 3.5 points, which is in a score of somewhere around 26-22. That is a little bit of a low score for Joe Burrow and the exciting rookie Jamar Chase and his teammate T. Higgins. At times this year, Burrow has put up elite stats. Indeed, of the 8 teams remaining in the NFL playoffs, 7 of them have put up elite passing yards and elite passing offenses this season. The one that hasn't, the one getting a lot of hype up in northern Buffalo. Indeed, in our view, at sportspicks.locals.com, the weakest team in the playoffs is those Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Whereas in fact, 7 of the 8 quarterbacks are more likely to give you a net yards of 7 yards or more per attempt, are more likely to give you a 100-plus QB rating, more likely to give you a 66% or better completion percentage, more likely to give you any of those impressive offensive passing stats than they are less than 6 yards net yards per play, under 250 total yards, and interceptions that equal touchdowns, any of those or of a bad QB rating of 85 or less. There's one exception to that. There's one quarterback who's twice as likely to give you bad stats this season than good stats, and that man is Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, who's getting a lot of the hype. There's a lot of excitement over the worst quarterback left in the playoffs. The reality is Josh Allen had one good season last year and half a good season this year. And the Buffalo Bills defense, it's missing its critical cornerback. It's all-pro cornerback since middle of the season. Mostly got those gaudy defensive stats by feasting off one of the worst offensive schedules in all of the NFL. And so we think the game that is projected to be the closest, the Kansas City-Buffalo game, will actually be the most non-competitive game. And so we're given a sort of contrarian take this week. But let's go game by game. Up first Saturday will be the Bengals against the Titans. We think Cincinnati at 22 points, a little bit underestimating what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins can do. But with Travis Henry back, the Titans have been an elite offense over the last several seasons when he's healthy, and it appears he is. So the spread seems about right, but the total seems a little low. It might be a little chilly, but that doesn't matter too much. It's wind that matters, and wind is expected to be a non-factor in Nashville. So we at sportspicks.locals.com like the over 47.5 in the Bengals-Titans first game, which should be an exciting game coming right down to the very end. Up next, but if you want the rest of our picks for that game, you can go to sportspicks.locals.com and get player prop picks and other picks as well. Up next Saturday night, Green Bay Packers are the other team with the number one seed that got a bye, and they are waiting to host the San Francisco 49ers, who ruined their playoff prospects just 2 years ago. So we'll see if Aaron Rodgers can continue his revenge tour as he got to San Francisco earlier in the year, coming back with about 25 seconds left on the clock to steal a game in San Francisco, and whether he and Devontae Adams can continue to torch a very vulnerable and weak San Francisco secondary. Now, Nick Bosa is supposed to be out and ready to play, and so is Fred Warner, so the defense should be decent for San Francisco and maybe generate enough pressure to limit some of those big explosive plays that Rodgers and Adams are known for, particularly against this very suspect San Francisco secondary. And Jimmy G himself has been putting up plenty of big plays all year long, another offense that's been in the Elite Eight through most of the season in its passing capabilities and key metrics. Now, of course, Jimmy G's got to avoid some of those big mistakes that have occasionally haunted him in his young career. But with the very diverse offensive personnel they've been able to employ in Deebo Samuel and others, we see a game that also should go over the 47.5 total. The Packers are favored at about 5.5. We don't have any particular strong leans on that, but we do have some additional prop bet picks that you can get at sportspicks.locals.com in another great game this weekend. Then up Sunday, LA Rams have to travel all the way across the country to face Tampa. And for some reason, the defending national champions and the GOAT, Tom Brady, particularly the playoff GOAT, Tom Brady, who has lost, twice in 17 tries in the divisional round or some ridiculous stat like that, is only barely favored by 2 points, 2.5 points, for a Rams team that comes limping in without their great left tackle, who has now officially been ruled out for the game. Now, of course, Tampa has its own injury problems with the loss of Chris Godwin and, of course, Antonio Brown going, totally loco. And so the Tom Brady doesn't have a full arsenal, but he is playing at home. He is playing still with a lot of talent on that Tampa team, including Mike Evans and the legendary Rob Gronkowski. And they still have a good coach and a good defense. That should add up to a Tampa victory, and that 2.5 seems a little low from our perspective. And again, a total around 47 or 48 for two of the most explosive offenses in the league all year long. Now, Matt Stafford has put up some very impressive stats in his debut year in Sean McVay's offense. And even though they lost Robert Woods, they added OBJ, and that has actually turned the corner for them offensively. And they still have, of course, the great Cooper Kupp. And a healthy Cam Akers has made that running game look impressive. This should be a heck of a game, a Super Bowl-worthy game between these two teams, though we do lean slightly towards the Bucs and do recommend the over. For the rest of the picks, you can go to sportspicks.locals.com for all the different player prop options available that might have some good value for this matchup. And for the last game on the board, the one everybody's excited about, the one we think is going to be maybe the least interesting game this weekend, Buffalo travels to Kansas City in a rematch of last year's AFC Championship. And Mahomes, who has bounced back from early struggles in the early middle part of the season and a defense that got a lot better down the stretch of the season, host the Buffalo Bills and only favored by 1.5, basically a pick-em bowl game. Here, of course, the total is the highest total on the board after both of these teams put up 40-plus last week. But if you've looked at the historic playoff trends, that usually means the under the following week. And at sportspicks.locals.com, we are actually recommending the first half under 27 for this Bills-Chiefs game. And we're going counter the institutional narrative. We think this is a game where the Chiefs dominate. We think this is going to be the least competitive game of the weekend. Josh Allen is the only quarterback of those 8 quarterbacks playing this weekend who has been as inconsistent and erratic as he has been. Whereas the rest have been consistently elite quarterbacks all year long, Josh Allen is more likely to give you a complete crap outcome than he is to give you an elite outcome, despite his extraordinary performance last week. We like the Chiefs to roll on into the AFC Championship game, and that this game will be more of a dud than a stud game for this weekend. But maybe we'll be wrong. We'll find out. Either way, if you want the rest of our picks and predictions for this weekend's games, including individual player prop opportunities, receiving yards, rushing yards, passing yards, touchdowns, interceptions, you name it, you can get that at sportspicks.locals.com. And if you want more of this kind of content here at Sports Wars, then remember to like, share, and subscribe here at Sports Wars. Until this weekend is over, enjoy and have fun. Thanks, everybody.